Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years.
Good morning and welcome to the Center for Creative Living. I'm the Reverend Doti Boon and I'm so glad to see you this morning. It's getting warm outside. Whew, I feel like spring is moving into summer pretty rapidly. So I hope you're enjoying your day out and having a good time. And maybe it's a long weekend for you. So enjoy wherever you are and whatever you're doing. We have lots of exciting things coming up at the center because we have opened up our doors for Thursday night classes. Yeah, we're back doing Thursday night classes, and I'm going to be teaching you how to get in touch with your past lives. And I'm going to be doing that coming up on Thursday on the 3rd of June. And so I want you to join us for that. You could either join us at the Center for Creative Living at 1460 Cole Circle. You come around to the back and come into the sanctuary for a wonderful class starting at 7 o'clock. Or you can go on our website and find out how to be with us on Zoom. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, we're going to be getting together. And now anytime you get kind of lost at what's happening at the center or what's happening with Doti Boon or Corry Gott or any of the CCL folks, then just go on to our website. And we're all over. You can look for the Center for Creative Living, make sure it's the one in San Jose, and find out what's happening. Doesn't that sound fun? Yeah, I know a lot of you are getting used to being on your computer quite a bit since we've been going through this pandemic. But the doors are opening up all over the place, and particularly at our place, at the center. And we'd love to see you there. Now, our speaker for today is the wonderful Gabrielle Antolovich. Now, Gabrielle is the director of the Billy DeFrank Gay and Lesbian Center here in San Jose. And as the LGBTQ plus leader, she has a lot of hats. You think this hat's vanishing and coming back. Believe me, Gabrielle wears a lot of different hats. And when she talks about her life, as she's going to be doing today, she's going to be talking about the times she felt betrayed. Think about that. When did you realize that what people told you wasn't the truth? And she's going to take it back from when her family moved from Yugoslavia to where she grew up in Sydney, Australia. Very interesting, her life story, and how she weaves that into that sense of betrayal she received, particularly as a non-binary woman, as she was having trouble with that when she was very, very young. So please stay tuned to watch our wonderful Gabrielle, okay? Now, next week, Joan Stutz is going to be back. And you know what I like about Joan is she always talks about money, but she talks about the spirituality of money, how you can get money, what you can do with it, how you can be on the spiritual path and also have money in your pocket. Many people seem to think that if you're spiritual, you need to be poor and you need to be sitting somewhere with a begging bowl. No, that's not the case. You can be a spiritual person and have learned clues on how to have money in your pocket, money helping other people doing charitable work. And that's what Joan does. And so I want you to make sure that you tune in next week to find out what our wonderful Reverend Joan Stutz has to say about money. Okay, can you do that? Now, for those of you who have been going through a very difficult time, particularly with the horrible massacre that we had here in San Jose. I know for so many of you, myself included, I just went into a time of, oh no, of grief for the families and also for the shooter. I know that sounds bizarre, but when you get into spirituality, you realize that everybody needs our support. And this man was going through such a difficult time within himself to take the energy it takes to load up guns, to get everything ready to do destruction. So we're going to put him there. When they talk about the amount of dead people that happened at that massacre, they quite often don't include the shooter. And we blame him for everything. And we know that when we blame him for everything, we take all of the energy we have about things we've done wrong and put it on him. Think of, did you do that? Did you do that when you heard what had happened? Take a moment and just bless his spirit. Just bless his soul and say, he was a very sick man. And then take that energy and transform it into the healing of the people who are left behind. It's a very interesting way of looking at grief. When you look at grieving is a way of honoring somebody, but also prayer is such a great way of honoring people who have passed. So take a moment. And I know our wonderful Dr. Ayleen is going to be helping us with a prayer and a message today, as Gabrielle is going to be talking some great talk to kind of kick off next month. June is Gay Pride. So that's one of the reasons that Gabrielle is going to be here. And then we're going to have a meditation, music with our wonderful Reverend Dr. Janet Childs, and some slides, video, some type of pictures that our Reverend Corry Gott is going to put together to go along with what Janet has been playing. It's a great morning. It's a morning for you to sit in prayer for people who've passed. It's a morning for you to sit in prayer to thank the universe for a beautiful Sunday morning. And it's also a time for you to sit in prayer for yourself and say, thank you to Creator for being here, for giving this beautiful backdrop, for opening your eyes this morning and looking at the sunshine. It's a great day. Thank you so much for joining us. And what we're going to do is we're going to be looking forward to you this coming Thursday to be in our class. Yeah. If you haven't gotten in touch with your spirit guides, that from the last class, we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're mainly going to focus on your past lives. And each one of you out there has had one. Yeah, we're going to get in touch with it. So you can see why you do some of the things you do and maybe why you don't. Okay? Thank you so very much.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. Ayleen Augustine, and I'm very pleased to be here providing the prayer this morning. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you're all being gentle with yourselves. I hope you're considering that, this is a very good time to relax and rest and be in community in the best way we can right now. To know that, there is always going to be challenges, and yet there's always going to be opportunities for things to move us forward. That for every difficult moment we have, we will have many more good moments. It's just the good moments don't stand out quite so much. When I think of Memorial Weekend, I think of my parents and that they served this nation with such heart and such commitment. And taking a moment to remember all of those who serve and all their families. I mean, I know what it was like to be an Air Force brat and not knowing if my dad was going to come home. And there are so many all over the world who remember someone who is far away, who think of them, who love them. My wish is that one day it won't be necessary for anyone to have to go far away and have their families worry about them. But until that day, we should always make sure that we honor those who have served. As the saying goes, all gave some and some gave all. And this is a time for us to remember all those who gave all. So for all of those who are connected in any way to the military, whether you have served, whether you have a loved one who has served, whether you support those who serve, whatever it is that you do, thank you. And for all of those spirits who have passed, thank you too. Consider the wonderful day when we will resolve our problems without having to use force. And until that day comes, we will honor those who choose to serve. From my heart to yours, thank you. So take a nice deep breath in, and as you let it out, let anything weighing on your body, your mind, or your spirit fall into that little imaginary basket next to you, because that's your care basket. Because in this space and at this moment, you don't need to hold on to it. Luna. Yes, she's always got something to say. Dear blessed and wonderful Creator, we thank you for this day and we thank you for our lives. We thank you for all the blessings you give in each and every moment and with each and every breath. We thank you for the blessing of and ask that you bless everyone in this community and all the communities beyond it. All those who gather in whatever way they can to acknowledge and remember you. We thank you for all of those who lead those communities, and for all of those who just work every single day to try to make the world a little bit better for even one person. Creator, we thank you for all the essential workers everywhere, and we include in those essential workers all those who serve in the military. Creator, we pray that your love will fill the hearts of all those who lead, so that one day everyone can come home and everyone can be with their families. Creator, we thank you for the blessing of our animals who, in their own way, are essential. We thank you for the companionship they give. We thank you for those times that they are just there when we need them. And whether those animals are here or whether they're waiting for us across the rainbow bridge with you, we thank you for their love. Creator, thank you so much for the blessing of fellowship, for the blessing of faith. Thank you for always being there for us, even when we don't understand why certain things happen, even when things make us angry or afraid. Thank you for putting a lesson and a gift in each and every experience we have, so that way we may move forward, wiser, more compassionate, and more connected to not only the world around us, but to each other. Creator, thank you for all you give and all you are. And whatever it means to you, we hope you have a wonderful day. For all your creation to the next 7 generations and beyond. Aho matak oyasin, ago, 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 by earth, sea, and sky. Namaste, shalom, assalamu alaikum, blessed be, and amen.
Hello, everyone. This is Pride Month, June again. Isn't that amazing? I can't believe that we are still in COVID, but what the heck? That's the way it's going to be for now. So I'm Gabrielle Antolovich, and I've been thinking a lot about how important it is for all of us to work together as opposed to us just doing our own little thing. Now, that sounds very similar to what everyone is saying, but I really want to talk about why that's important. See, I was born in 1950, and my parents are immigrants from Yugoslavia. They were recruited all Europeans were recruited to America and Australia to do the work that nobody else wanted to do, the infrastructure work, you know, the farm work, the building roads, all of those jobs that nobody wanted. So they recruited all these immigrants after the Second World War because so many people in Europe were displaced from their own countries, like my parents. They didn't like the people that took over their country, and so they left, and they got kicked out of their jobs after the war so that people of that country could have their jobs. So that's why it was a lucrative thing for America and Australia to recruit them. They got a free not a train ride, but a boat ride from Europe. They got free housing, which you can just imagine for immigrants was lousy housing. And they got jobs. You know, my mother worked in a cigarette factory and got hooked on nicotine. And my father worked on the roads. And for 2 years. So there was a promise of a job for 2 years. And of course, like good immigrants, they had dreams about a wonderful life. And unfortunately, I was born 5 months after they arrived in Australia, in Sydney. And you know, the people, even though the government recruited them, the people hated immigrants. And so I got really scared that the way my parents were treated, I thought people were going to take my parents away. So at 2, I started attacking people who were attacking my parents because I was scared. And that was the first time I felt that power inside of me. I felt like, you know, those dogs that protect you and they sort of strut around afterwards. It's like, yeah, I protected my human. That's how I felt because I was a tiny little 2-year-old. But what that did for me was I felt betrayed. I felt betrayed by a country that said that they wanted my parents there. Now at 2, I didn't have the word betrayed, but I had a sense of betrayal emotionally. I felt that the world was not a safe place. And my parents kept saying, we are the only people that will ever love you. Because nobody else out there is going to love you. And then, of course, when I came out gay, they rejected me. And that was a different kind of betrayal because they promised to love me as I am, and they didn't. And you know, that there is a word for it in the foster care system. They call it losing permanency. It's when your family rejects you for whatever reason, and you either have to run away because it's an abusive household, or they kick you out because you're gay or lesbian or transgender or not what they want. Then you lose permanency because in our society, family apparently is the infrastructure that children are brought up in. And it's a promise. It's a little like how America and Australia promised immigrants a new life, and they betrayed us because they didn't realize people didn't like immigrants and were bigots. And the promise of family taking care of you, even though they kept saying it, and when they didn't like us because we were gay, and in my case, I wasn't a frou-frou little girl, I got betrayed because my mother wanted me to be a pink tutu ballerina, and I wasn't that. I didn't like ballet, and I'm not good at it. And I was not a frou-frou kind of gal. In fact, look at me. Am I a frou-frou kind of gal? No. We now call it non-binary genderqueer, but we didn't have the words for that back then. You know, my mother used to say, well, what are you, a tomboy? And I'm going, no, I'm not a tomboy, but I'm not a girl. And it's like, so what are you? And here's an adult asking me as a 6-year-old that was going, I don't want to wear that pinky poofy dress. She's asking me, then what am I? You know, it's like, hello. So here's where the betrayal keeps happening on the inside, even when children don't have the words for it. I knew I was being betrayed by my parents because they didn't like me anymore because I wasn't what they wanted. And in the 1950s, it was a big deal to be a fluffy woman and a masculine man, because that's what they did after the war. You know, during the war, women had all of the jobs the men used to have, and they loved it. You should see photographs of women being really excited about wearing pants and being in jobs that were meaningful. And then they got kicked out of the jobs because the men coming back from the war in Australia and America needed the jobs the women had. And the only way to get the women out of the jobs, well, not the only way, what they did was they had all this propaganda about women need to be in the home to take care of the children and be available for the husband to come home, and wearing a nice poofy dress and makeup and hair and making dinner and making the home. So all of that evolved as a way of getting the women out of the workforce. Mind you, 30 to 40% of the women went back to the workforce because they could not stand it. And that was the precursor to women's liberation. You know, any movement does not just poof happen in a vacuum. This was the precursor to women's liberation. And and me being rejected as a non-binary person without the language, you know, it's like, ew, we don't like you because you're not like this prissy little girl to show off, was the precursor to the LGBTQ plus movement. You know, I was a precursor to that. And so, you know, why am I talking about that? The reason why I'm talking about this is that betrayal is a huge emotion, especially if it happens from a country that says they want you and parents who said they would love you always. When that betrayal happens, that loss of permanency left me personally with nothing. And when you have nothing, this is the amazing thing. I felt like my world had fallen apart, and I left home because there was no home anymore. And so when I left home at 18, 1968, the 1960s movement had happened. It was a big old revolution. Mind you, it was a big old heterosexual revolution. And that's why women's liberation and gay liberation happened, you know, to sort of make up for the gaps of the, you know, hippie movement, which was great. I was part of that. You know, I was living in communes to take down capitalism. You can see how it worked. Anyway, so what happened is that when I left home, I sort of hung out, even before I left home, I hung out with a lot of communes. And because I was the gay, they kind of tolerated me because I was not a man-hater. And, you know, being non-binary and being like, a unique gender mix. I got along with both men, women, heterosexual, gay, bisexual, whatever sexual people, because I am the encompassing of everything. I could relate to everyone and still do. I have so much in common with everyone. And, what was interesting about it, I didn't know this consciously like I do today, right? And so I'm getting along with everyone. It didn't matter to me if you were a hippie or, if you were married, if you were gay, single, multiple relationships, nothing mattered to me. And part of that is that I had nothing left, and that is a precursor to spirituality, when nothing is there anymore. The emptying, not just of the mind, but of the expectations of the world. And what is so interesting to me, being a baby dyke and being young, 18, 19, what do you know? Nothing. And so I really felt that the universe was trying to keep me alive and kept bringing people into my life that were uplifting enough to keep me on the planet. Isn't that interesting? And it's really simple things sometimes, because, my parents were, especially my mother, she was very picky about everything. She said that I didn't look right. And so when people said, I like your hair, something as simple like that would wash away my mother's negativity permanently, not just for that moment. I was really amazed. And I started talking to people about that, and they said that was a spiritual awakening. And I'm going, what's that? Being Australian, Australia at the time was anti-spiritual and all kinds of things. But I was curious. I said, what do you mean, a spiritual awakening? When something as simple as that can take away your karma or take away something that has been burdening you since day one, like my mother's approval, which I didn't have, when that burden is lifted, not just temporarily, but permanently, oh my God. And I said, yeah, I'm curious about that, because I want more of that. Because I was burdened by a lot of things. I was burdened by, why do people hate immigrants after they recruit them? That didn't make sense to me. I also have a logical mind, even as a little one. It's like, this seems like an oxymoron to me. And so I started to learn about spirituality is a complex dynamic with the universe. And you never know how it's going to come about. It could be through a religion. It could be like through the Center for Creative Living, or it could be random, because the universe wants to keep you alive. I had no idea I had suicidal tendencies, because I kept having spiritual interventions. And I kept being grateful for them, because I didn't know if I had a purpose. I didn't know if there was a purpose for me. But when I met some of my Aboriginal friends in Redfern was this little part of Sydney where all the Aboriginal people lived. It's a bit like, there are ghettos for everything. There was, the place where all the gay people lived, where the Aboriginal people lived, where, whatever, where all the hippies were. So when I started being friends with Aboriginal people, oh my goodness, you know, they don't care if you're gay, bisexual, transgender, odd, you know, don't fit in. It's amazing. They're like the Indigenous people in America. They actually like that about you. And it's like, boo. I had not come across that kind of acceptance, because most of us gay people didn't even accept ourselves because of the propaganda around us. And so to have people accept me was like a spiritual awakening. It's like, you don't care who I am? And so that helped me be more who I am. And they loved it. And so they were my best friends. And then I realized that in Australia, they're so homophobic. It's amazing to me that and they're also racist bigots. They were at the time, and I'm talking about the 1960s, 1950s and 60s. So, and I'm sure things have changed, but back then, the LGBTQs and the Aboriginal people were at the bottom of the rung together. And so we hung out together. Isn't that amazing? And to be honest, they were the best people ever to hang out with. And if you ever want to watch Priscilla, the Queen of the Desert, that movie, apart from the bus with the shoe on top, that's a fantasy part. The rest of it could have been touted as a documentary about Australia in the 1970s. I swear to God, that's what it was like. And you can see the dynamic between the gay people and the Aboriginal people and the transgender people. It was mwah. And I even knew the lesbians that owned the gay bar that's in the movie. So, you know, it was pretty true, except for the bus and the shoe on it. And so by making it a fantasy film, they got away with telling the truth about gay life and Aboriginal life and how we interacted in the 1970s. Woohoo! I thought that was very clever, because when I first saw it, I kept going, I've been there, I remember them, I remember this happening, woohoo! A piece of my life. So anyway, obviously I kept up my relationships with Aboriginal people because they were fabulous. And so anyway, where am I going with this? Betrayal is a very deep wound, and that all minorities have this wound. Whether you're one of the Asian people, whether you're one of the African American people, whether you're part of the Latinx genre, whether you're LGBTQ plus, we have all been deeply wounded by betrayal. And so what happens is that when we get together, we feel that betrayal even with each other if we're not getting along. And this is where, as part of June Pride Month, be patient with other minorities about their betrayal wounds, whether they talk about it or not. You know, that hypersensitivity, don't call me that, or don't say that, you don't know what I'm talking about. And the new group right now that's hypersensitive is the Indian caste issue has come up, where the lower caste people from India are being discriminated against by higher caste people. in the workplace. And a lot of people are saying that's not happening. And I'm going, yes, it is. And we were in the forefront to speak about it at the Santa Clara County Human Rights Commission. So there is a lot of betrayal in many of our hearts. And so if you don't say the right thing, then boom, we take it out on each other. And it's understandable. It's understandable. So as a spiritual act, and as an act for June Pride Month, let's be more patient with each other and curious and ask each other, how were you betrayed? Because, you know, let's face it, the LGBTQ plus community is the only minority that's kicked out of the family. And we have a lot of commonality with the people in the foster care system because they were kicked out of their family for whatever reason, a lot of which is being gay, but not only that. And so that betrayal can be deeper, but maybe not. I mean, racism runs deep, deep as a wound in people. And so let's be curious with each other about what that pain is and what can I do as an ally to you to help take that out of you and move it on so that we can work together better. And that's really the message that I love best, is that when we help each other about that deep betrayal that some people get every single day, like African American people get every single day, they are betrayed by all kinds of people. But betrayal is betrayal. If you've only been betrayed once, then you have compassion for another person's betrayal. And don't ever deny people's big wounds because they are huge. And so for us to be able to work together as a one big movement of all minorities, we have to, on a personal level, understand that part. That's the important thing. It is a process. It is not just an action. Don't just go to a rally and think you've done it. Get to know the people around you and really get to understand what it is that we need at that rally, you know, and we need action. We need policy changes. We need to, you know, be safe in the workplace. We need to be safe in where we live. We need to be safe everywhere. And that's what advocacy is, and that's what changing policies is all about, to make sure that there are policies in place so that you can be safe. And then when you're not safe, you have some recourse to stop the unsafety from going on. And that's what the Indian caste people are asking. We need all of our organizations to add caste to our anti-discrimination policies, and we have to get all the workplaces to do that so that the discrimination against them cannot go on. And it gives their HR people something to work with to stop the humiliation, to stop the discrimination. So, you know, we're talking about a lot of work here, and it begins with each one of us. And pride, for me, is pride for all of us. You know, the old saying, you know, nobody's liberated until everyone's liberated. That really has a very deep meaning. It means all of us, you know, absolutely all of us. And so that brings me to the Billy DeFrank LGBTQ plus Community Center. We are a conglomeration of everybody. You know, we're not just LGBTQ plus, but we're also all races, all ethnicities, and castes. In fact, it was one of our volunteers who is part of an Indian caste system that could potentially be discriminated against that approached us. And yes, I lived in India and I saw it with my own eyes, the discrimination against certain people. And I learned about the caste system, even though it was technically abolished in 1950, or was it 1960? But anyway, it was abolished a long time ago, but it's still going. So the Billy DeFrank Center has added caste in our anti-discrimination policy. Boom. That was easy to do, and we will not tolerate any discrimination against anyone from India. And so as a center that is a safe place, oh my God, you know, we've been shut down for over a year. And what are the issues that we have to address as we prepare opening up? The safety issues are huge because people who hate minorities of any kind, immigrants, people of color, people of different ethnicities, people who speak different languages, LGBTQ plus, different religions, whatever, have been emboldened to hate. So I am not naive that when we fling the doors open, that every person coming through is one of us who loves being with us, right? So we have to really be mindful of our safety issues. I want our community and our allies to feel safe here, and that all of our volunteers are trained in understanding what to do and also how to recognize people that are not quite for us. There's a certain vibe about that. So that's part one. And part two is we are developing all these new kinds of programs and new ideas about being at the Billy DeFrank Center. I'm not going to do too many spoilers, except for one spoiler, that the Center for Creative Living is going to be at the Billy DeFrank Center. Yes! Oh my goodness! You have no idea how excited I am. One of the things that I have always felt, even though we do have a meditation group on Friday nights, and even though we do have yoga and health and wellness on Thursday nights, to have the Center for Creative Living at the Billy DeFrank Center, oh my goodness, it is going to be a rock star new thing that we will have on Sundays. And you will learn all about this through our e-newsletter that we keep putting out there, so you know what's going on. But that is one big spoiler I did want to give you. And you know what we're going to do on the fourth Sunday, the Center for Creative Living will not only have their regular service, which is not really regular, so don't be deluded. What's going to happen is they're going to stay, and we will have a variety of social events on the fourth Sunday of the month, and We will have, speakers. We have an in-house DJ to, do dancing or just background music. Goodness knows what will happen. And when you're in the spiritual realm, really, we never know what's going to happen. So that is a big spoiler. The other spoiler I'm going to give you is that 2021 is the Billy DeFrank Center's 40th anniversary. And because of COVID, we can't have a big old whoop whoop. So what we're doing is we're going to have a whole series of different fabulous events that people can at least get to one of them. And we've been working with the Alameda Business Association, not only about safety issues on the Alameda, but also how to bring the businesses back. And one of the things we're going to do as the whole Alameda, you know how Friday nights is First Friday is a big deal downtown San Jose with art and blah, blah, blah going on. Well, on the Alameda, we're going to do Second Saturdays, and it will be launched on Saturday, September 11th. We will be honoring the 20th anniversary of 9/11 as a whole Alameda. But we will be launching our first 40th anniversary party in our parking lot. And Silicon Valley Pride is going to do live entertainment. We're going to have, a walk through history, a life-size cutout of Billy DeFrank, in case you don't know who he was. He was an African-American drag queen, and he was the biggest love bug in the 1970s. He actually died a year before we opened up, and for many years, we have had his namesake, which, felt tokenistic in some ways. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a mural on our wall with a picture of him, and we're going to say, Billy DeFrank, we have been so inspired by his inclusion of everyone, his love of everyone, and also his generosity, because he funded a lot of the different LGBT groups during the 1970s. The Billy DeFrank Center didn't happen in a vacuum. There was all this activity going on in the 1970s. So that is amazing to me that we're going to be able to celebrate him as well. And you can take a picture of yourself with him with the cardboard cutout. So anyway, happy Pride for June.
Oh, sweet freedom, reach into our lives. Oh, sweet freedom, you can make us realize all colors, all colors, all colors make us whole. All colors, all colors, all colors of the rainbow. Oh, sweet freedom, will you reach into our lives? Holy freedom. You can make us realize all colors, all colors, all colors make us whole. All colors, all colors, all colors of the rainbow. We are starshine, all multidimensional. We are moon dusk. Yeah, we're living in the world. This is our sacred promise from the universe. We all belong on our precious earth. All colors, all colors, all colors make us whole. All colors, all colors, all colors of the rainbow. We are starshine, all multidimensional. We are moon dusk. We are living in the world. This is our sacred promise. Oh, from that universe, we all belong on our precious earth. All colors, all colors, all colors make us whole. All colors, all colors, all colors of the rainbow.
Thank you for joining us for this celebration of faith and fellowship. We'll be back next Sunday. And for those of you, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them in the comments section. If you appreciate this video and the work that the Center for Creative Living is doing, please press like on the video. You can share the video. And also, please subscribe, because that will help this community and the church grow. Remember, in these difficult and challenging times, the opportunity to give and support an organization that has done so much for the community is tremendously important. Please help the Center for Creative Living continue in the wonderful work that it does. We will make it through this. We will be stronger for it. Our faith will carry us. Be blessed, be safe, and have a wonderful week.